My name is Casey Hersch. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, author, and founder of LightYourSparkle.life. Today I'm here with a very special guest, Melora Hardin. She's known for her portrayal of Jan Levinson on the NBC series The Office. She was Emmy nominated in 2016 for her role of Tammy Cashman on Amazon's Golden Globe winning comedy Transparent. This year, she wrapped up the fifth and final season of the freeform series The Bold Type, where she starred as Jacqueline Carlisle. And we just saw her compete in the 30th season of ABC's Dancing with the Stars, where she made it to the semifinals with her professional partner, Artem. In 2022, she is going to be releasing a docuseries called Thunder, Hunter, and Me. Many years ago, Melora played the role as Cindy in a series called Thunder. Thunder's a horse. And there was a young girl named Hunter who was watching the series and always wished that Melora's character Cindy could come through the television screen and rescue her because Hunter was going through some trauma. Many years later, Melora and Hunter met and their relationship cultivated this lovely docuseries all about how to help people who are going through trauma and how to talk to them about it. And today I want to dive deeper into some of my observations and inspire others through your journey. So, in one of your scenes from the series, The Bold Type, your character talks about body positivity and says that body positivity is about self-love and self-acceptance, which is very healthy. Can you explain what this statement means to you?
I think that, one of our greatest things on this planet and being a human and the human experience is that we have this ability as humans to have a sensual experience of life. And one of our greatest senses is the sense of taste. And I think that there's so much focus on, an outside sort of view of what it is to be human that
Yeah.
that I think a lot of times people forget to just connect to the actual pure pleasure of one of the simplest pleasures we have is this ability to experience the pleasure of food, the pleasure of taste, the pleasure of fueling our bodies with food and giving our bodies a chance to be strong and healthy and to thrive and to indulge sometimes in things that we like the way they taste. But I think people forget to feel. They go outside of their bodies, and of course, what I do in my career is all about getting inside of the way that I feel as a character, or as a filmmaker, or and so I think that that's really a lot of what body positivity is. It's reconnecting with the way you feel about your body, the way you feel about the fact that our bodies are our vehicles to go through life. They are what we've been given to have this human experience that is different from our soul experience or our spiritual experience or even our intellectual experience. They are just a vehicle. And so if we take our cars to the car wash and we change the oil and we change the tires and we put snow tires on and we put summer, it's unfortunate that so many people have gotten so warped in their sense of what it is to be connected to your own body,
Yeah.
that they don't take their own body to the car wash. They don't take their own body. They don't think of their body in that way. And instead they think of it as it has to look a certain way. And I'm really all about how does it feel? And and even with this whole pandemic, I wish that we had used this as an opportunity to really help people connect to the health of our physical forms and our body. And I don't think that it's a positive thing to to speak about, body shaming and that kind of thing in terms of it's okay to be obese. Like, I think that's not, it's not okay, not because it looks bad. It's not okay because it's bad for your organs. It's bad for your health. It's bad for the the hospital situation. It's bad for diabetes. It's bad for your your human experience to be able to thrive. And so I think that we're just really backwards in a lot of the way that we talk about body image, body acceptance. I just personally feel that we should connect to the sort of sober up about it and simplify the conversation, which is really should be, to me, more about, it's not about the pounds or the way it looks. It's about the way it feels, and it's about working towards taking the best care of the vehicle that you have to go through this lifetime with the most reverence that you can, which includes the enjoyment of food, the enjoyment of physical activity, the enjoyment of feeling your body. And you don't feel your body as well when you are, many pounds overweight. And I think that there's just been a real warped thing about that I think is really been a real missed opportunity. That that's a hard conversation to have, because people will often say, well, you're saying that's body shaming. And I'm kind of like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about that at all. I really think that you need to love yourself in order to make any kind of change. You have to start by loving yourself.
Yeah.
And I just don't think change should be about what it looks like. I think it should be about what it feels like and what is best for your mechanism to perform in this lifetime.
Yeah, Melora, that is that is really profound what you just said, and I thank you for saying it, because I think what you just said and the way that you described it is a way of describing body positivity that people are uncomfortable saying. And the way that you're describing it, where you're talking about all the senses, it's touch, it's taste, it's emotion, it's all of this rich experience that we have on the inside. And you're also talking about the idea that, health is really important. And when we're during a time during the pandemic where so many people are vulnerable to this viral insult, there is so much empowerment that comes from working from the inside out to help yourself gather strength and immunity. And all of that comes from basically this understanding that your body is so much more than this thing you're packing around. So you said a lot of points that I'm really happy you're a role model for women and men, because someone needs to be saying the things that you just said. So thank you for that.
Oh, good.
So, that kind of goes to your experience on Dancing with the Stars, because you're in the spotlight a lot, and it requires a lot of time in front of the mirror when you're dancing, which often provokes a lot of feelings and insecurities for people. So after this experience for you, when you look in the mirror now, do you see the same Melora?
Well, it's interesting. I've always had dance in my life, and I think that for me, ballroom is so different. It is sort of like being a baseball player and then being asked to, throw a football on a football team. But I always found, and it's interesting because I started ballet so young, when I was like 5, and I was really determined I was going to be a ballerina. That was really what my first fantasy of what I was going to be when I grew up, and sort of my first dream. And I have always found going to dance class, I've actually talked about this with friends, that there is something very different about looking in the mirror when you're working, when you're dancing like that, because when you're dancing, you're, at least for me, I'm working to do something with my body. So I'm working to create a better line, to create the picture, and to keep working towards that showing up the way I want it to, with repetition. And so there was something, it is sort of like a very self-centered moment, but it's like self-centered in a way that is productive and relaxing, because you're not looking in the mirror to go like, how beautiful am I, or what wrinkle do I have, or where's my gray hair, or, you know, you're not, or where am I fat, or whatever. You're looking in the mirror to go, is that right? Is that line right? Or is it close to right? And how do I get it closer to right? And how do I keep working to make that beautiful, to make that stronger, to make that more effective? And so I think that in general has translated for me into my life. And I think it's one of the things that makes me a really good director, because, and also as an actor, I'm a rare actor in the sense that I can, you know, there's a thing called dailies, which is when you get to see the, you know, the scenes that you shot the day before, you can see them the next day. And it's a thing that, you know, historically, when we would shoot everything on film, when I was younger, they would withhold that from the actors. They wouldn't let the actors see those dailies, because so many actors would freak out and be like, oh my God, my hair was out of place, or I look fat, or whatever they would do. And I really think it is this dancing thing and this ability to look in the mirror sort of objectively, almost like it's self-centered, and yet you're removed from yourself because you're focusing on something other than yourself. And so I'm one of those rare actors that actually can watch dailies and can watch myself with a lot of objectivity. And it actually behooves me very much as a director, because I can really see things from perspective, like 30,000 feet up looking down, rather than being right up in it. Yeah. Like it's me, and it says things about me, or means something about me. I can see when things are hitting, when they're landing, when they're not landing. So yeah, I think that is the mirror sort of training from having ballet in my life as long as I did, and as seriously as I did, and as passionately as I did, because I had this relationship with the mirror from a very young age that was really, really different than most people's relationship with their mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is really interesting to me, because when I first started ballroom dancing, I had such a history of trauma that I really wasn't comfortable looking at myself, and I wasn't comfortable being in my body. And I was so overwhelmed by looking in the mirror. It was like a sensory overload. And I hear that a lot from people when they first start dancing. But there is this process where I think you start to have this friendship with the mirror in such a way that it's sort of like the messenger that points out these really important gifts to you that help you be able to grow. And it feels like, you know, that objectivity where you're using it as a way to really not be so inside of all the external stuff, you know, the color in your face, like you were saying, and all of that. And you're able to detach from that enough to be able to really look at the big picture, which is sort of a metaphor for life, really. Like, how do we step outside of ourselves and look at a bigger picture? It feels like, you know, you were able to use this process in that way.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
So, you know, the media, of course, in the entertainment industry place a lot of value on youthful appearances and slowing and even stopping aging through Botox, cosmetic procedures, makeup, almost as though aging is bad. Can you share how you navigate aging as a celebrity and as an aging woman in her 50s?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm lucky because I've always had older people in my life. I had my grandparents like late into my 30s. My parents now are quite old and they're in my lives. So I have a lot of respect and understanding and enjoyment of older people. And I also just feel like there are so many things about life that get clearer and better and get less, less burdensome as you get older and you get more maturity and you get more life experience and you have more, more tools to draw from and more lessons learned. And so I guess to me, it's just my dad, who's 92, as of a week ago.
Oh, congratulations, Dad.
Yeah, he always said, you got to celebrate every birthday you have because there's only one other option.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just feel like, I guess that's sort of how I feel about it. I feel like because I've had old people in my life, I've always felt like I'm going to be old. I feel like, sort of I have my eye on dying at 111 just because I like 111. That's an angel number and I like it. I don't know if I'll make it that far, but I feel like I've always sort of had my eye on that and that I want to be a healthy, vital old person. I don't want to be a decrepit, So that means I started very young taking care of myself that way. I think it's good to perceive ourselves at a certain place. It's like, I remember once dating a guy who said to me, did you always have a vision for for like the kind of relationship you want, the kind of man you want? And I remember saying, yeah, that's ever evolving. I was very, very young, but I was like, that's ever evolving and that's changing with each relationship I have. But yes, I have a picture of what I want. I want this in a partnership and I want children and I want old age and I want vitality and I want health and I want, success. And those are things that it's good for us to hold those things because it's like you want to be going towards those things, those visions. It's like creating visions for ourselves, those vision boards or,
Sure.
And so I think really that's what it is. It's like aging is a part of life. And then of course I have a very wise friend who says, the sooner we can get in relationship with loss, the more joy we're going to have in our life. We start losing things from the day we're born.
That's right.
Literally the day we're born, we start losing things. And you see that in our culture. You mentioned Botox and plastic surgery and all those things. And that, to me, that's people who are desperately trying to hold on to something that has already been lost to them.
Yeah.
And instead of that, just get into relationship with you can have grief about loss, but you also, if you kind of get into a sober relationship about it, and you realize that we are losing things from the day we're born, then we actually can decide to lose things. We can decide to say, I'm one of those people, let's say like me, I'm one of those people who there was for many, many years, I used to have a Coca-Cola at lunch every day. And then I realized at a certain point in my health, in my body, that wasn't good for me. And so I literally stopped doing that. And I haven't had a Coca-Cola in 20 some odd years. And I don't miss it. But for the first 4 or 5 weeks of taking Coca-Cola out of my diet, I missed it. Yeah. But I was just in relationship with the missing of it. I was in relationship with, I'm choosing my health over the taste of Coca-Cola, which, by the way, I got to have for the first 25 years of my life. So what's the problem? And why are we so desperate to hold on to something that we've already had a really great run with? Like, it's like really great. You get to do something for 25 years and then you decide not to do it anymore. Great. And then there's going to be other things that I'm going to decide not to do. And, so that's really how I deal with that, with aging. And that's what I think is, to me, the healthiest way to deal with it. And that's not to say there's not going to be things that you have sadness about losing, because you do, and you will, I mean, I'm not 18. So my leg doesn't go as high when I'm dancing on Dancing with the Stars as it did when I was 18, when I could get it flat to my face and I could roll through my split and I could do all that. I can't roll through my split anymore. And sure, I have moments where I'm like, damn, I can't roll through my split. But then I have other moments where I'm like, damn, I can do a lot. I can do a lot that for 54 because I've had some consistency, because I continue to prioritize my vision for old age, my vision for my life. And I'm sure some of that will come true and some of that will be totally different than I imagined. And I'll have to grapple with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really powerful, Melora, when you talk about the relationship that you've had with older adults and the elderly. Because, we talk about in social work in my profession that we are more and more detached from seniors, older adults, elderly, however you defined that generation, more and more and more. When I was a kid, my volunteer time I spent at a long-term assisted living long-term facility in a hospital. And I played the piano for residents, Christmas music at the holidays, and I spent time with these lovely, lovely souls. And so I got really close to that process of aging as well. And my survival and my resilience came from relationships with these elders who, and I've always been surrounded by women and men who are much older than me. And so I love that the way that you've talked about this idea of grief, because we are a society that really just wants to avoid grief. And there are these
Yeah.
overwhelming, powerful, necessary losses that we have in our life. And there's a great book that I, read in my field about necessary losses, and it really does kind of all come down to our struggles that we have with letting go. But like you say, from the moment that we're born, we've already had loss immediately. From the moment that we leave the womb, losses start. So
Yeah.
well, I really appreciate that interpretation of of aging. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
So, I mean, for a young person who insists that they're not worthy if they don't change themselves to fit society's model of beauty, what would you say to them?
Oh, I mean, I would just say like, look outside your window. Like, go and walk in the forest and look at all the leaves that are how different they are and how beautiful the most crinkled, jagged, strange, dotted, spotted leaf can be next to a perfectly shiny green, beautifully shaped leaf. And that this idea of what beauty is it really is some you know concept. And you can either, I mean, I just think that our young people have a real disadvantage in the sense that there's so much promotion online of what is right, what is good, what is beautiful, what is true, and there's this cancel culture that is so evil, and this inability to you know to see things from other sides, this inability to uphold and to revere critical thinking and to question and to debate and to discuss and to disagree uh, with open hearts and open minds. And that this is how it shows up. It shows up in these mental illnesses with young people who are so self-focused and so turned in on themselves that they have no ability to see the world that they are living in and communing with the world.
Yeah.
And picking up a handful of dirt and watching sand run through your fingers and feeling the sun on your face and getting outside of your bubble. And that takes discipline, and that takes leaders, and that takes guidance, and that takes teachers. And right now, the world is not looking like that. The world on the nightly news and the politicians and the government and the courts and the teachers and the universities and are looking very much more homogenized than ever before, and very much more critical of any divergence of opinion or disagreement with the popular idea or thinking or rhetoric. And it's very worrisome to me, and really upsetting that we can't have these conversations, and that, you know, we can't speak across party lines, and that we can't learn, and we can't be an emblem. The people that are at the top of our cultural pyramid can't be an emblem and an example of what it is to negotiate and to respect differences, and to include questions, and to include concerns. And so I think that's where it stems from. I think it stems from this overemphasis on homogenization, and everyone being like everyone else, and everyone agreeing with the party line, and everyone, and, you know, and if you don't agree, you're the bad guy and we're the good guy, or you're the good guy and I'm the bad. It's just, it's mind boggling to me, but it is so much pressure. It is so much pressure. And you see just how, even in the pandemic, how the lockdowns have like affected mental illness, and this incredible intensity of looking inward. And, you know, this school shooting that just happened, I'm fascinated to find out what's going through this young man's mind, that he feels this is, and he's calling for help, and he's not getting help, and he's being given, you know, the weapon that he can do this with. And to me, it's like, it's a very small, detailed picture of a larger problem that's going on around the world. And so to me, that's, I mean, I know that's like way off mark from what your question was, but to me, that's the bigger question. And so I would just say the thing you can do to not be consumed by this very large problem is that you can commune with nature. You can literally just go outside and appreciate. It really is not a saying for nothing, stop and smell the roses, but it's like deeper than that.
Yeah.
Really look at what makes the things around us beautiful and sensual, and spend time there, and spend, you know, cry there, and grieve there, and laugh there, and commune there with friends and family. And just, but this is the discipline that most young people don't have, and they don't have anyone leading them to that.
I love that that's what you would say to a young person, because when we work with kids, a lot of times I notice that kids don't have that idea of being able to orient outside of their body. And so one of the exercises that you use a lot of times with youth and adults, when there's that disconnect with themselves, is you help them orient to a smell, or look out the window and notice the sky, and look at the like details of a leaf or a mushroom, or, you know, even just a color, the color spectrum like involved in just the color orange. So this like idea of orienting is almost so foreign to our youth, and to even us. You obviously, this is a big part of your life, but that we almost have to like bring it back, and we actually have to describe it and use it, you know, as an intervention. And vision, that idea of looking into the future with an idea of how you want to be. You know, I enjoy in ballroom dance that, you know, I get to love what I do, but at the same time, there's this category called the senior division. And so as soon as you like pass over into like 35, you're considered a senior. And so I find that to be just, there's nothing wrong with being called a senior, but along with that, it's loaded with a bunch of like ideas. Like you can't compete with those young amateurs in their 20s. And there's this energy around it. And so I hold this vision for myself that I am going to dance in my 90s. And if I live to be 100, I am still going to dance. Because when you start to imagine yourself differently, then you sort of become that. I mean, that's just kind of, Oprah was right when she said, make the vision board.
Totally. I mean, I think that's amazing. And, you know, and I think that's something that, you know, that we were talking about a lot on Dancing with the Stars. I mean, Artem, my partner, was saying that like, he would say sometimes in press, like, Melora's competing with people that are a third of her age, and it's not like oh, we're gonna let this older lady compete with these people in their 30s.
Yes.
It's like she's really competing, like she's actually competition for them and
Heck yeah.
competition for the 18-year-olds.
Yep.
She's competition for them. She's not
it.
just like, it's not just like, well, she can kind of do it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, she's actually doing it.
No, you
Like,
did it. Yeah, and your Roomba, by the way, as someone who understands the
who
tech,
understands how hard a rumba is.
to like embody the essence of that dance truly, like you rocked that baby, and I was like, okay, not right, but it's okay. Moving on.
It's
So
true. I did. I know I did. And
I saw it. I mean, I watched you, and I'm like so respectful of that because as someone who works on those nuances every day,
it's a lot.
it's really hard to do that, especially when you're just learning it. Like it's rarely ever done like that. So
thank you. Well,
kudos.
I had all the female pros.
I know. I'd
and
imagine.
even Derek was like,
Yes.
like all those pros were like sitting back there, and all the females came up to me and said, I've never seen a female celebrity on this show ever dance the rumba as perfectly technically as you just did.
Bingo. Yeah.
So that was enough for me. And I'm still going to talk to Carrie Ann about, I don't know what she was talking about picking up my feet, because Artem was very, very specific about details. He would have told me if that was a lift and I was supposed to keep my feet on the ground. And if he had told me that, my feet would have been on the ground.
Yep.
But that was never, he said it's never been judged as a lift, and it's never been a problem when you like go from foot to foot. It's not like I'm like lifting me, Anyway, the point being that, everybody has their things.